Yep, that's James Harden of the Philadelphia 76ers. Phenomenal basketball talent. The black Manu Ginobili, who has surpassed Manu Ginobili when it comes to that offensive game. I mean, the man can transform himself into a point guard, scoring guard overnight with the click of a mental switch. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. He's a revolutionary basketball player in respect to that he has modified some of the rules in the officiating of the game, which is a hallmark of great ball players. James Harden's patented step back can be witnessed in any local gym today between black, white, brown, and yellow future basketball players. The prominent ball player Luka Doncic, he has mimicked much of James's game, no doubt about it. So we speak highly of James's talent on that floor. There's no doubt about it. There's no arguing it away. However, what must be acknowledged, as we did on the previous channel, we talked about cardiac arrest and what were some of the contributing factors for black male basketball players. And some of that was none other than what you see in James Harden's hands right now, that lack or that poor diet. And no disrespect to the trillionaire Bun B. Oh, no, sir. Shout out to Bun B. He's adjacent left to James Harden. But we have to acknowledge, as a professional high-octane athlete, it's best suited to eat foods which are conducive for nutrition. Now, we know and we acknowledge all four of those burgers may not even be for James. We also acknowledge that they're having a party, they're having a good time, they're chilling, they're doing what they do. We get that. We understand. This is the fruit of his labor, the fruit of his reward. We get that. So you want to celebrate sometimes. No problem there. But we also have to acknowledge that James Harden is infamously known for coming into the regular season, preseason, regular season, out of shape, looking like a black Santa Claus with the beard and a belly full of jelly. And then he has to play himself into shape throughout the course of the season, which can also jeopardize injury, as to why the next point we talk about is he's infamously known for not being able to finish the seasons strong, primarily the postseason. That's one great knock on his overall game, not his talent, but his game. And so what people have argued and people have said over the years is that James Harden hardly shows up when it gets hard. Many people have stated that James Harden hardly shows up when it gets hard. And it gets very hard at the closing of a game and during the closing of the postseason. And he played pretty well this postseason. I must admit, that was one of the best postseason plays I've seen by him when the ball was in his hands a great deal. Still, with that being said, you'll notice he's still not in great shape. He's still not in optimal basketball shape. And we suspect the reason to why that is because of Hardee's, or as we say on this side right there, the Trill Burgers. Why is Harden hardly showing up when times get hard? Hardee's or Trill Burgers. Shout out to Bun B again. And this is the problem. So you have, in the case of high school and college athletes, where their money is finite, their time is finite to even earn money. So that means they don't want to spend much money on food. That kind of relegates them to eating trash food. James Harden has made over $100 million. And he's no longer in college or in high school. He's a pro ball player. And he can afford chefs. And yet, with that being said, he still comes into the season out of shape. And this comments and notes not to his talent, but to his lack of discipline concerning the foods and his diet. And this is symptomatic of America, whether it be that black male athlete or the non-athlete or anyone throughout America when we understand that 70%, 72% of Americans are either obese or overweight. And this is a reality within this country. And a lot of it is based upon the foods and the diets. Now, we also know the number one cause of death in this country is none other than cardiac or cardiovascular disease. So here we have a high octane athlete who is a great basketball talent, yet at the same time infamously known for not being in shape and having to play himself into game shape. And then by the time he's accomplished that throughout the course of the season, when it gets difficult in the postseason, he has much difficulty finishing strong. Now, I'll tell you exactly why that is, because it takes a certain level of conditioning from the very beginning, to build up those internal muscles, even the mental muscles, to know that you can push through the hardness, push through the pain. But because his talent is so high, he can score 30, 35 points on cruise control. But when the game gets real difficult, when the season begins to leave, we begin to see James Harden also begin to disappear and to leave. And this is what's going on. So we give encouragement to everyone, athletes, non-athletes, because we have made mention in a recent article, that high school heart attacks of athletes, high school athletes having heart attacks is on the rise. And the article stated that it was within the last 10 years. We believe it probably was in the last 3, beginning at 2020. We have our reasons as to why cardiac arrest is on the rise, myocarditis is on the rise, just the year 2020. Now, thankfully, James Harden has not suffered anything along those lines, but his game has suffered. The foods in which you eat to a great degree will determine your outcome. When you look at the high school or the college wrestler for one moment, just change the sport for a second, they will tell you, if I did not finish strong the last minute, the last few seconds of the wrestling match, then guess what? It most likely was not from my training. It was most likely from my diet or my lack of discipline over my diet. That's what a wrestler would tell you. And the reason why we make mention of them is because their whole life, their whole sports life is surrounded or circulates around a scale. And that scale permits them or will deny them access to that match, all based upon numbers and a scale. That's not the case with the basketball players, because some of them are tall, some of them are lean. We think to ourselves, oh, they must be in shape internally. Not so much. Not so much. The outside could be lying. And then so what's going on in the inside, a lot of that is determined upon what we put in the inside, what we consume, and what we eat. And I think that's it for today, family. I'll continue pouring the juice. You get back at me. Share, subscribe to encourage the human family to stay healthy, to stay fit, to stay sharp, to stay on top of their game.